So I want to ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think that it is that we're going to go back to those old flexible and remote ways of working that we had before coronavirus? Do you think it will be business as usual, or are we entering a whole new world? Now, I don't know about you, but there's a lot I miss about the office. Brainstorming, lunches with colleagues, bouncing ideas off them, networking, self-promotion, and nothing beats that in real life connection, really, does it? And there's also a lot not to love about our current working setup. I mean, Robert Kelly did try and warn us, but as we all know, we haven't just been working from home. We've been at our homes during a crisis trying to work. There's a big difference, and we've been all managing as best as we possibly can. And there's also a hell of a lot not to miss about the old ways of working. I do not miss the tube, armpit, sardine can, and I've much preferred spending my evenings doing more productive pursuits. I don't know about you. Now, coronavirus has been a catalyst that all companies and individuals have had to adapt to, whether we like it or not. And now lockdown's lifting, the question on everybody's lips is, what now? What on earth happens next? Well, what do we know? We know that flexibility is one of the most important attributes for people when they think about where they work, as important as value, salary, holiday. Now that people have had the chance of these new ways of working, and caveat, once the kids are back at school, will they be prepared to go back to the same ways as before? But let's also not get it twisted. We've got a long way before flexi hours and work from home is the definition of flexibility. Still, only 1 in 4 of us work part-time, a figure that's barely budged in 2 decades, despite it being a statutory right. Now, why is that? Because sadly, there are still too many inflexible staid leaders at the top, employees working themselves to the bone unsustainably in a race to the bottom, and too few role models succeeding doing things differently. Now, as somebody who has done things differently, working 4 days a week at Deliveroo and building my own business on the other day, I've seen firsthand the amazing potential that having an alternative working setup can have. And I, for one, would not choose to go back. And it seems like I'm not alone. According to a YouGov survey in 2018, 50% of us would give away the traditional 9-to-5 working week if we had the chance. Well, guess what? We've got the chance thanks to coronavirus. So here's 5 things to consider as we go into the new normal. First, for flexibility to work, it has to work both ways. That means the employer and the employee see the benefits. A reasonable employer, and I say reasonable, is generally happy to accommodate a reasonable employee, so long as they're given the same respect in return. So sure, leave early for your virtual Zumba class this Thursday, but you're also prepared to work late or start early to hit an important deadline. Flexibility cannot be a one-way street. We should never think about it like that. Number 2, half a century on from McGregor's X and Y theory, there are still too many examples of inflexible leaders distrusting the productivity and motivation of their team, particularly when it comes from working from home and flexibly. It's the job of flexible working beneficiaries and advocates like us to prove the naysayers wrong, to showcase and role model the behaviours that they should be able to expect. We cannot take the piss. Personal accountability is crucial. Next up is about standing up for what we believe in. It's about, as Camilla said, leaving loudly for childcare commitments. It's about walking with our feet when things don't align to the way that we see the world, so that we can make progress for employees everywhere. Next up, number 4, presenteeism is a sad reality, because isn't it about output versus input? Isn't that what really matters? When I went down to 4 days a week, my progressive boss allowed me to work my week autonomously, however I wanted, so long as I met the objectives we agreed to. This autonomy, having fair expectations for the output that I was expected to produce, and close alignment, meant that this worked really, really well for us. In fact, I worked harder, not less, because I was so grateful for the respect that she gave me. And number 5, coronavirus has changed a lot of things, and our personal and professional lives have been forced to come together in ways we've never seen before. And there's a hell of a lot that's uncertain that we don't know what's going to happen with. But there is one thing that is not uncertain, one thing that will never change, and that is the need for personal and professional to come together. Life, global pandemic or not, is stressful. So the more they can come together, the better. So I ask everybody on this call to think about, what future workplace do you want to build? And what can you do in your own big and small ways to help to make that future a reality, so that the generations coming after us don't have to make the same sad trade-offs that we often have to. Thank you very much.